Ghost Gaming and EG. Keep in mind, those final pool play spots will be reserved for the top 4 to make it on out of that.
And then just so you guys know, since you guys can't see, D is Splice and E United are the top 2 teams, and then TK and Red Reserve are the top 2 teams in Group C.
You guys, I'm curious, like, how many teams would you feel confident picking right now outside? I would say Optic and LG.
To win?
No, to come out of their pool. No, come out of their pool. Like, are there any teams you feel really confident with these pools? Like, I can say Optic and LG. Outside of that, who the hell knows? It's
going to be awesome. Because again, you sort of look at Pool C. That's one I feel like there's that.
So I'm just going to go ahead and mute it now and just kind of start talking about what I think. Probably just go pool by pool. That'll be easiest. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and just pause the stream here so I can just keep this pool graphic up. So for me, Group A is probably the best group. Group A and Group D are both really strong in my opinion. And then I think Group B is the clear weak one. And then there's, of course, Group C. So Group of Death. It's kind of hard to call. I would say probably Group D. I think Group D overall is better, and I think that mostly comes down to I'm taking EG and E United and Splice against E6 and probably Ghost against E6, and I'm definitely taking all 4 of those teams against Unilad. And then all those game modes are toss-ups against Envy and Optic. I think that they could kind of go either way, but. So for those reasons, I think Group D is probably the group of death to start. And of course, it'll definitely change when they add an open bracket team to each of these groups. And there's obviously like so many good open bracket teams, so it's not a surprise that one team could become that much stronger if they do happen to get like a really good open bracket team. Like if Group A gets FaZe or something like that, or even if like Group B gets FaZe or something like that. Like wherever FaZe ends up, there's Next Threat, which is Censor's team, and just a bunch of really good teams that are in open bracket for this event. So I think it'll be really interesting to see where these open bracket teams end up and who they end up playing against, because I think that'll ultimately kind of determine which group is actually the group of death playing in it. But as of right now, like I said, Group D I think is the group of death, and then. So to start with Group A, I would say right off the bat, I think Unilad is going to be struggling a lot with some of these teams. And it's not trying to take anything away from Unilad. I think Unilad's team is pretty good. Like I would guess that they could beat Envy and E6 in this group, but if I'm, putting money on it, I'm definitely not gonna go in their favor. I'm definitely gonna take Envy or E6 over Unilad. I think Envy is probably better than E6 on LAN, because I know E6 has not been, they're not like a team of onliners, but I think they have some players who have never really done it on a main stage before. So it'll be interesting to see how like Decimate and Bevels and all the players in general just get on at LAN. Obviously, General has plenty of experience, and Dashy came on kind of at the end of Infinite Warfare, but I think there's kind of a new pressure to boots on the ground. But overall, I think E6 and Unilad will probably be kind of in a tough situation because those two teams will kind of be playing each other to see who finishes third in the group. And then I would have Envy over Unilad. I would have Envy over E6, and then I would have Optic over all 3 for Group A. And then, of course, the open bracket team, which we don't know. And that could change the group a little bit. But overall, I don't think there's any open bracket teams, maybe besides FaZe, if they turn up, that like any team that's already in pool play should be scared of getting in their group. But Group B is Luminosity, Ground Zero, Vitality, and Epsilon, as you can see on your screen. And for me, Luminosity is a team where I don't know, it's weird because I think they're good enough to beat Optic, but they haven't really shown me anything in the 2Ks to suggest that they actually can. So it'll be very interesting if they end up playing Optic on LAN, if they can actually beat them. But regardless of that, I think they will win this group. I don't see any reason they wouldn't, unless Ground Zero can pull off kind of an upset. But I think Ground Zero has their own kind of pressures, dealing with blasts and first kind of LAN event. Obviously, I'm assuming they've probably attended locals of some kind, but they are just S&D stars before anything else, and now they're kind of elevated themselves to pro player status, and they have to very much prove themselves on the main stage here against two European teams that I'm not going to put under the bus. I think Vitality and Epsilon are two decent European teams. And if Ground Zero slack, or if, let's say they lose that first map and they start tilting a little bit, which I think is certainly a possibility. It always is when you have a team with Haggy on it. I mean, it's been known to, tilt sometimes. I think that it's very important that this team stays composed and that they really do make the most of the kind of easy pool that they've been handed, because I think they are the second best team in this pool, and I think they're closer to first than third from the standpoint that they could beat Luminosity. I could see them beating Luminosity potentially, but I don't see a lot of ways that Vitality or Epsilon beats them. But I would say if I was gonna rank the group 1 to 4, I'd probably go. See, Epsilon and Vitality is such a toss-up, but I think I'd go Vitality, Epsilon, Ground Zero, LG. I think that's what I'd go for Group B. And then moving on to Group C, we have TK, Red Reserve, Rise Nation, and Mind Freak. So for this group, they have TK, who has been kind of, I think, the biggest surprise of the year so far from the 2Ks, just because they were so good as like a unit. It seems like they seem to really understand each other as teammates, and they seem to have like a really good like natural chemistry almost. And plus the fact that Kenny seems to be really good, at least online with a sub, which I think helps them a lot. But TK, I don't think that they're the best team in this group. I actually think that I'm going to take Rise Nation over them on land, and mostly that's just because I think Rise Nation has always been a good team. No matter like the actual 4-man roster of their team, the Rise Nation like core of like Looney and Aqua, and obviously and of course they have Felony on their team too, who was there last year. Like that core has always kind of been able to win, no matter regardless of who the core has been. And so for that reason, I think Rise Nation will actually be able to beat TK, despite how good TK has been online. But I don't want to take any credit away from TK, because obviously they've played very well to get to where they are now, and they're no slouches by any means. And if TK beats Rise, I wouldn't be surprised. Like I think TK is a very good team. I just think Rise is a little bit better on paper going into LAN. But of course, we will have to see when the time comes, if that is the case. And then I would say so. So I would put Rise 1, TK 2. Then I'd actually probably take Mind Freak over Red Reserve. I mean, Red Reserve has a very good team, obviously. I think Zero has been one of the best players in Europe, if not the best player in Europe, the past 2 or 3 titles. But overall, like I don't know if they have it in this game. And from what I've seen, obviously Zero is very good, and their team overall is very good. But I think Mind Freak has dominated Australia, and it's so hard to see, so hard to tell. Excuse me. How good they really are from just watching them play in Australia. But overall, I think Mind Freak probably will beat Red Reserve. But again, that match is such a toss-up, just because of how, like good and bad those teams are, and kind of not like the flaws that they have, but just that for Mind Freak's sake, it's like their level of competition makes it hard to read them. And then for Red Reserve, European talent has not been as deep as NA talent ever. as far as like the amount of good teams. And so for that reason, I think it's going to be hard to say that they are like, top talent in comparison to NA teams in comparison to maybe like the best team in Australia. But again, I think that's a toss up. But overall rankings for this pool, I would go Rise, TK, probably Mind Freak, and then Red Reserve is what I would say as my prediction for this pool. And then finally in Group D, like I said before, I think Group D is probably the group of death for this tournament. And Splice, E United, Ghost, and EG, of course, is the group. And I'm trying to think. So it's weird because I think Splice is one of the top 4 teams in the game. I think E United is also potentially one of the top 4 teams. Obviously, because they beat Optic and they won the last 2K, which regardless of online or offline, I think that does speak that they actually won the event. I think that speaks to something. And then you have EG, who I think are going to do much better on LAN than they do online. I think that they are the perfect amount of veterans to kind of be able to step up when it matters most on LAN, and they're not going to kind of play into the discomfort of being nervous or something like that. Like I think this team will perform just fine on LAN. And then Ghost Gaming, of course, they are. I don't know. I don't really know what to think about Ghost Gaming because their team is kind of built on chemistry and not necessarily individual skill, which of course team chemistry and good like tactics and things like that will take you very far in a tournament and will take you farther in tournaments more consistently than relying on kind of like the star player aspect of it. But I think this is a team who can definitely perform, but I don't see them performing. And what I mean by that is I don't think that they could beat EG in a best of 5 on LAN. And I don't think they would beat E United and Splice in a best of 5 on LAN. So for me, right now, if I was going to rank the group, I would go 1 E United, 2 Splice, 3 EG, and 4 Ghost. And that's just based off of what I've seen so far and what I think about these teams on LAN. So those are the 4 groups. And obviously, since I paused the broadcast on this, I don't know if the broadcast is still going. I can try to see and check back in with that and see if they're still doing predictions of some kind, which I'll go ahead and do now. But I think it might be offline. Let me. Oh no, so it is still going. They're still talking, probably giving their predictions. I would imagine, kind of just like I did.
But Joe, I know.
Now one more.
We got one more little announcement before we end the.
Okay, and then they have one more announcement that they're giving right now.
Yeah, so another new feature at Dallas, PlayStation 4 Pros. All the competitors will be competing on them.
Okay, so that's actually pretty good, pretty exciting. They just announced PS4 Pros at every station at CWL Dallas, which is nice. I know a lot of people are very excited about the PS4 Pros and how the performance is a little bit better, so I think that's good that they did invest into PS4 Pros for all the LAN stations.
Than ever before at a competitive Call of Duty.
And I'm assuming that they just gave their predictions as I was giving mine. So, yeah, so you can see that they're kind of ending their broadcast now. So I will just go ahead and switch back to this overlay, which is a little bit different, back to the middle of the screen versus on the right side. But overall, I think we're in for a really good event. I think the pools are pretty balanced overall, and I think that was always going to happen just because of how many good teams there are. There's kind of like 20 teams, give or take, right now, obviously, that you saw in the pool play being drawn that could like beat each other. Like, I don't think there's any team that made it into pool plays right now that if they perform, really well, or if they, pull off an upset against a big team or, like against a bigger team in their group, that I would be surprised. I think that every team in here definitely has a good chance at making it into the bracket stage, of course. And overall, I think we're in for a really good event, like I said. And I think just to kind of give like a kind of a crazy prediction or something like that, I think regardless of what regardless of how any of these other pools go, I think Optic will probably be in the grand finals of this tournament, which isn't really too crazy to think about. But I think something crazy to look out for, even though TK performed in the 2Ks online, I think it would still be really crazy for them to make the finals of the LAN. And if they do, I think, props to them. That is very well done on their part. And then besides that, I would say I would look out for E United to make the grand finals. I think they'll do really well. Luminosity, I think they have a chance. And then, probably besides them, like kind of a more dark horse team. I guess Mind Freak is probably the big dark horse team because they haven't really played anyone like super, amazing. Like they haven't played any top NA competition. They haven't played any top EU competition. They were just kind of dominating their own APAC region. So for Mind Freak, I think if they can get top 6, I think that would be a very impressive result for them. Top 6, top 8, something like that would be really good on their part. But overall, I just really like to see some really good matches, and I think we're in for some really good matches. And overall, I think it's going to be a great event, and I hope to see you guys sometime after the event, bringing you guys a review. And I hope you guys